The disc weighs 5 grams. I put it in the slot and switch on. The screen flares up, and the sentence I have been investigating for so long glows up at me in the darkness of the room. The word Europe comes from a Semitic word that simply means darkness. The sentence glowing there on the screen is truly European. The thought was long on its way before finally being put into words at the turn of the century, 1898 to 1899, by a Polish writer who often thought in French but wrote in English, Joseph Conrad. Kurtz, the main character in Conrad's Heart of Darkness, completes his essay on the civilizing task of the white man among the savages of Africa with a postscript summarizing the true content of his high-flown rhetoric. It is in this sentence, radiating towards me now on the screen: exterminate all the brutes. I thought I had made a neat little scholarly discovery, worthy of being taken up one day as a footnote in the history of literature. Kurt's sentence explained by Spencer's Fantasies of Annihilation. They, in their turn, I thought, were personal eccentricities, perhaps explained by the fact that all Spencer's siblings had died when he was a child. A calm and comforting conclusion. It soon turned out that Spencer was by no means alone in his interpretation. It was common and, during the second half of the 19th century, became even more common, so that the German philosopher Edward von Hartmann was able to write the following in the second volume of his Philosophy of the Unconscious, which Conrad read in an English translation. As little as a favour is done the dog whose tail is to be cut off, when one cuts it off gradually inch by inch, so little is there humanity in artificially prolonging the death struggles of the savages who are on the verge of extinction. The true philanthropist, if he has comprehended the natural law of anthropological evolution, cannot avoid desiring an acceleration of the last convulsion and labour for that end. At the time, it was almost a platitude Hartmann had put into words. Neither he nor Spencer were personally inhumane, but their Europe was. The idea of extermination lies no farther from the heart of humanism than Buchenwald lies from the G.O.E. house in Weimar. That insight has been almost completely repressed, even by the Germans, who have been made sole scapegoats for ideas of extermination that are actually a common European heritage. A battle over the living past is going on at present in Germany. This Historiker Street, as they call it, concerns the question, is the Nazi extermination of the Jews unique or not? The German historian Ernest Nolte has called the so-called extermination of the Jews by the Third Reich a reaction or a distorted copy and not an original action. The original was, according to Nolte, the extermination of the kulaks in the Soviet Union and Stalin's purges in the 1930s. They were what Hitler copied. The idea that the extermination of the kulaks caused the extermination of the Jews seems to have been abandoned, and many people emphasize that all historical events are unique and not copies of each other. But they can be compared. Thus, both likenesses and differences arise between the extermination of the Jews and other mass murders, from the massacre of the Armenians at the beginning of the 1900s to the more recent atrocities of Pol Pot. But in this debate, no one mentions the German extermination of the Herero people in Southwest Africa during Hitler's childhood. No one mentions the corresponding genocide by the French, the British, or the Americans. No one points out that during Hitler's childhood, a major element in the European view of mankind was the conviction that inferior races were by nature condemned to extinction. The true compassion of the superior races consisted in helping them on their way. All German historians participating in this debate seem to look in the same direction. None looks to the West. But Hitler did. What Hitler wished to create when he sought Lebensraum in the East was a continental equivalent of the British Empire. It was in the British and other Western European peoples that he found the models of which the extermination of the Jews is, in Nolte's words, a distorted copy.